Good morning, Emeritus Chairperson Sir, Topc Sir, Principal Sir, Chairman and dear PG students. Today's topic is the science of writing a research paper. So the topic is science, but I think it is an art also. The art is that how you craft the paper and how you get a clear hypothesis and then the contents and then get a peer review. As per my experience, I think the problem the PGs and the young faculty face is sometimes the writer's block, just to start the paper. Once you write one or two papers, then after, as from my experience I can say, like PGs who wrote one or two papers, after that they can write any paper on any topic or any case. So it's better to start, not to wait for like we'll be specialized, we'll learn first and then we'll start writing the paper. So why the writing paper or publication is important for us? Because this is to showcase our case or our finding or our work to the society or to the medical fraternity. It is very important. Not it is important from the academic part, but it has been made compulsory by the NMC also for the PG students and for the young faculty for promotion also. So we will be discussing all the nuances and the parts of writing a paper, and today's PGCR's moderator is Dr. Shweta Mangal from the Department of Community Medicine, and the chairperson are Dr. Rajat Vora, Dr. Anusha Vora ma'am, and Dr. Pankaj Singh. Over to Dr. Shweta ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Wishing everyone a cool and refreshing morning to all respected dignitaries, faculty and dear students. As we jointly celebrate the Silver Jubilee year of our institute and also the 25th year of this century, this PGCR by Department of Community Medicine would certainly embark all of us on a journey to improve on our scientific research writing skills. I, Dr. Shweta Mangal, the team of my PG students, that is Dr. Nikhil, Dr. Shivangi, Dr. Parthil, Dr. Aditi and Dr. Vijaya would be presenting on the science of writing a research paper. So first of all, starting with an overview, as Mukesh sir has already said why writing a research paper is important. So this is crucial for our intellectual growth, for our academic success, and also for contributing meaningfully to knowledge within a field. And it also develops a range of skills which are beneficial in various professional and academic contexts. And similar to as what Dr. Mukesh said, it has been made mandate by National Medical Commission for faculty promotion and for PG eligibility for appearing in MD and MS examination. So before we start with how we should write a research paper, I would just like to throw light on what are the various type of research articles that we can get published. First of all is the original article. So this is the most common and highly desirable type of article, and this is considered as the primary literature. And if anyone aims to publish their key findings from their research work or from their thesis, this is the best of the choice. Then comes the review articles. These are secondary literature as they don't present some new statistics from the author's work, but it is through comparison and analysis of already published literature. So these review articles are again can be classified into three types: the literature review, systematic review and meta-analysis. So literature review are providing detailed information about a published work, and while the systematic review, we are like synthesizing the findings and evaluating the quality of various studies. And in the meta-analysis, we are going a step forward. We are going for statistical analysis, which combines data from multiple scientific studies to compare the results and address some common research question, and it helps us answer questions which an individual study usually cannot give us, and it is also helpful in resolving controversies. Then comes the case studies and case series. So they are short reports giving detailed information on patients' symptoms, signs, diagnosis and treatment for a rare presentation or for a new disease, and this is usually used in a clinical scenario. So if the number of patients are 1 to 3, then we go for a case study or case report, while if there are more than 3 patients or 3 cases, then we go for a case series. Then comes the short communications. So they are brief reports from an original study. Then another type of research article is methodology, which discusses new experimental methods or procedures. Then we have editorials, which are usually the author's perspectives on any specific topic. And then we have conference materials and book reviews. Under conference materials, we have the abstracts of presentations that have been done in the conferences, and we have book reviews where published books, reviews on published books are usually published. So these were the various type of research articles. But if we just go by the National Medical Commission criteria for acceptance of publication for faculty promotion, only these 4 types of research work are considered, that is original papers, meta-analysis, systematic review and case series. And also the publication should be in a journal indexed with these 6, any of these 6 indexing authorities, that is Medline, PubMed Central, Science Citation Index Expanded, Ambase, Scopus or DOAJ, that is Directory of Open Access Journals. Also the author should be among the first 3 or should be the corresponding author. So coming to the research paper, again we need to have several structured steps which are grounded in scientific methodology and academic conventions, and IMRED is the format which is usually used for structuring scientific papers. So what is this IMRED format? So this is an acronym for 4 main sections of scientific paper, that is introduction, method, results and discussion. And this IMRED style of writing is explained by a wine glass model or the hourglass model, and this is often used in natural sciences, healthcare, engineering and computer sciences research papers. This IMRED format is usually used for original articles, and usually the word limit for an original article varies from 2,500 words to 3,500 words, excluding the tables and references, but still the word limit varies from journal to journal. So it is advisable that whenever you have selected a journal, you should always refer to the author guidelines. So whenever we are doing something, the very common question that comes to us is क्यों, why we are doing this, कब, कहाँ, कैसे, क्या, and similar is for the IMRED format. So introduction tells us why we are doing this study, materials and method tells us how and where we are doing this, what we are getting from this study is depicted in the results, and so what is the next step comes or is covered in discussion and conclusion. So besides this main part of the research paper, we have 2 other parts also, that is the title, author, abstract and keywords, and at the end we have the references. So with this, I will invite Dr. Nikhil to carry on the presentation further.
So let's following the IMRED format, and I'll start my very first topic of title. Title is very important to a research paper. It's mark initial introduction to the work. It gives the idea of main topic and the study design. It attracts reader and encourages further readings. And the title of the study is derived from your aim of your study, the highlight of relevance of research, and it should be concise. Also, there will be a running title in your research paper. A running title is help the reader to keep track on an article, and especially when they are browsing of a print journal or toggling between multiple papers. Your running title should be shorter version of your title. It should be appear on the top of your each page of research. It prioritizes clarity and accuracy of your research. And in your running title, you omit the word like the, a, and n, and not more than 6 words of your running title. After that, let's come to the author affiliation part. Author affiliation is listed after the author name and should be include the institution name and designation of the author. A digital location and instead of geographical location is also acceptable nowadays. It's important because they link to the authenticity and the prestige of the author. External organization may identify publication based on the listed author affiliations. Failure of list any of the affiliation may lead to the author not being credited with their work. After then there will be an authorship also. The authorship is the process to identifying and crediting individuals who have made significant contribution to the research like writing, revising, reviewing or approving the work. The first author of your research is the lead author and the last author of your research is often one of your faculty mentor. Also there will be a corresponding author is the one who take the primary responsibility during the publication process of your research. Those who contributed to the research but aren't listed as author so should be acknowledged in any part of the acknowledgement and any type of the research process. Any of the authors should be fulfilled the criteria, at least 3 or more than 3 of these. These are the authorship criteria for listed author. After then we will talking about the abstract section. An abstract is a summary to the content of your paper. An abstract is a time-saving shortcut for busy researchers. It's a guide to the most important part of your research. It can encourage researchers to read your full paper and also can facilitate the peer review process, which is the important process of an research, and it should be approximately 250 to 300 words. Also, your abstract should be structured or unstructured. In structured abstract, we will follow the embedded format with the proper heading or subheadings, and in unstructured format, abstract, we will also follow the embedded format but without the headings or subheadings because of it's a freeform style abstract. After then, I am talking about the keyword section. It's the keyword representing the main ideas or topic of the paper, and they should be arranged alphabetically. Your keywords are not more than 5 to 10 words and can be different from your title. Keywords are the tool to help indexers and search engines to find relevant papers. It increasing the readership and potential citations. Your keyword must be representative of content of your paper and specific to field or subfield. You will usually use the MAST criteria for the finding the keywords. The MAST criteria is the database is associated with a set of medical subject headings. It tags indicate the primary subjects of an article and also the described content of your paper. Here is the example that is taken from a PubMed index journal, and here we can see that this is the article of first page, and that's the second page of the article. Here is the title of this research paper. Here is the running title and the author affiliations. That's the authorship. These are an example of structure abstract, and that are the keywords of this research paper. Okay, then lastly I am talking about the introduction section. An introduction provides the reader with the background information needed to understand your study. It mentions the study problem and the purpose and should conclude with the aim of your study. While writing the introduction, make sure your citations are properly well balanced, current and relevant. In well balanced introduction means if your experiment has conflicting result on a question, you have to cite the study with both kind of the results. And in current introduction means you should aim to cite references that are not more than 10-year-old, and if there is a first discovery will be there, then you can also cite it if it is older than also 10 years or more. And in relevant introduction, the study cited should be strongly related to your properly the research questions and the research study paper and the area also. Thank you. Now I invite Dr. Shivangi for the rest.
Thank you, Dr. Nikhil. As researchers, we strive to produce a high-quality work that contributes meaningfully to our field. To achieve this, it's crucial that we carefully plan and execute our research projects. Now I'm going to present aim, objectives, and materials and method. Let's start with the foundation of a research project, that is research aim and objectives. Aim is the main goal of a research project, specifying what needs to be studied. It provides a brief and broad overview of the research topic, setting the stage for the investigation. Objectives build the main aim of outlining how the study will be achieved. These specify the steps or processes necessary to address the aim. Typically, 2 or 3 objectives are stated to guide the research and ensure the clear path towards achieving the overall goal. The first objective is a primary objective and others are called secondary objective. Objectives should be crafted with precision and purpose, representing the sense of SMART objectives. That is, first they should be specific, they should be measurable, achievable, they should be relevant, and they should be time-based. Together, these elements create a roadmap that transforms the research vision into an actionable milestones. Here's a journal article taken from PubMed in which they have highlighted the aim and objectives of a research paper. Now, materials and method are the backbone of a research study. This section provides a detailed account of research design, procedures, and materials used. By answering the fundamental questions like what, where, who, when, why, and how. This section enables the study replication, allows evaluation of conclusions, provides insight into the study quality. Methodology section encompasses several key components that are first is ethical consideration, study design, sampling, sample size, sampling methods, data collection which includes variables, methods and instruments, and statistical analysis. Information should be presented in a chronological order. First is ethical consideration that ensures the right and dignity of participants that should be respected and protected. Here are some key considerations that include ethics committee approval, number with date, informed written consent, assent statement, confidentiality and anonymity. Helsinki Declaration needs to be mentioned in clinical studies. For clinical trials, including all above considerations, all study protocols should be registered with CTRI. Study design is a research blueprint. There are various types of study designs. Study designs are broadly classified into 2 categories on the basis of interventions used and not used, that are observational and experimental studies, which are further subdivided into various groups. Here are the guidelines for specific study designs to present the study. Like for RCT, we use concert guidelines. For systemic reviews and meta-analysis, we use PRISMA guidelines. For observational studies, we use STROBE guidelines. For meta-analysis of observational studies, we use MOOS guidelines. And for studies on diagnostic accuracy, we use START guidelines. Now the sampling. Sampling involves defining the study setting and criteria. This includes specifying the location, recruitment period, timeline for exposures, interventions, follow-ups, and data collection. In which I have taken the example from PubMed, in which they have mentioned the study design, the study setting, how the data have been collected, and the follow-up and the recruitment period. And selection criteria includes inclusion-exclusion criteria, explain the rationale, and target population. exclusion criteria should not be the negative or inclusion criteria. This is how we mention inclusion and exclusion criteria in a study. By carefully selecting the participants, researchers can increase the validity and generalizability of their findings. Now the sample size. Sample size is the number of participants' observation included in the study. Sample size determination needs to be mentioned. There are various formulas for sample size. This is for cross-sectional study, and this is for poise control and cohort study. Sampling methods is a crucial step of research. These ensure the sample is reliable and accurate to the population. It is a crucial step for research. It has two types. It is probability sampling and non-probability sampling. Probability sampling is further divided into simple random sampling, systematic sampling, and stratified sampling. Non-probability sampling has various types, but few of them are non-snowball sampling, quota sampling, and convenience sampling. The Gantt chart is a visual tool that provides the overview of research project's timeline, illustrating start and finish date of each task. It identifies the task dependencies, highlights critical and non-critical tasks, tracks the task progress and slack time. This is an example of Gantt chart, how it should be made. It is advisable to use the Gantt chart in thesis and research papers as it helps in completing the project on time. It is also advisable to use in publications. Now the data collection is a process of gathering and analyzing accurate data for various sources to find answers to research problems, trends and probabilities. Process of data collection includes variables, instruments and methods. First is variables that must operationally be defined to indicate how they will be observed and measured. Instrument description includes measurement tools, calibration procedures, and they should be valid and reliable. And methods include surveys, interviews, observations, experiments, and lab results. Now the lastly is statistical analysis. Is a process of systematically examining and interpreting data. It depends on the type of data collected, as each requires specific methods for accurate analysis and interpretation. Softwares like Microsoft Excel, SPSS, IBM, GEMOB are software for data analysis in which SPSS is paid and all others are free of cost. Significance value should be mentioned that we usually take common threshold p-value less than 0.05. This is an example taken from the same article in which they have mentioned the software and the version of the software and the significance of p-value. Now I invite Dr. Parthil for the results.
Thank you, Dr. Shivangi, for inviting me. Based on this diagram, as you can see here, result section connect method to the discussion section. Result is a presentation of observed data in a concisely and meaningful way without doing interpretation. As it is a completed work, we preferable to write in a past tense by using text, tables, charts or figure and photographs. Always start your result section by summarizing your objectives, research problem and its purpose to provide more context to the reader. Subsequent part, which could be in logically order, like first is your primary objective and second is your secondary objective. And make sure to highlight your primary and secondary outcome, whether it is in favor of your hypothesis or not. Now, based on this information, can anybody tell what would be the best way to present it? Yes, please.
Table would be a right option.
Okay, you are correct. The answer is table. As we can see here, table ensures the numerical data and it allows reader to see the exact value of the variable and facilitate to comparison between the groups. Now let's see what are the elements of the table. First, table title, second, column title, followed by body of table and lastly, footnotes. Table title should have to mention the number of table and details of who, when, what, where to make it standalone entity. For the column title, should have to mention label of variables. And for the body of table, should have to mention the column of the column title like normal, mild and moderate to severe hypertension, and for the row title like non-former and current smoker. And rest of the data cells should have numerical values. And for the footnotes, we can add more information or if we want to share any information or specification. Variables should be in a logically order. As we can see here, normal, then mild, and then moderate to severe hypertension, and same it is in a row like non-former and current smoker. Text and number should be in a properly aligned. As we can see here in a green vertical line, the first column should be leftward aligned, last column should be rightward aligned, and rest of should be in a centrally aligned. Now let's take a pause and apply what we have learned. Based on this table, can anybody tell what are the errors in this table? Yes.
Item is not proper and the alignment is also not as you told.
Yes, you are right. The ideal table would be this one. Now let's compare and contrast to make the difference apparent. As we can see here in a first table title is a vague. The ideal way to present the title is it should be a standalone. The column title is repetition of word added, which could be omitted here as it obvious in a table title. And for the percentage symbol is a repetition in each data cell with each data cell value. It could be omitted here and preferable to place in a column title to keep the things concisely. For the text and alignment, as we can see in the ideal table, the first column should be leftward, last column should be rightward, and rest should be in centrally aligned. Regarding grid line, journals and guidelines are differs, but most recommended minimalist approach. Now let's see what are the usage of charts and figures. They are based to present patterns or trends in data or difference or interaction among the data, and should be avoided the data with no strong statistical relationship or sparse data. Rather than it's preferable to choose text elements for this data. Now let's see how to design charts and figures. As you can see here, the title of figure or charts should mention below, as we are designing our chart from axis first. While in a table, we are writing our table title above the table because we are start writing our table from above. So x-axis should have to include the independent variable. Here I use time for that, and for the y-axis it should be include dependable variable like number of cells, and scale them according to major and minor tick to make it more comprehensive. Choose a specific symbol to show your each data point, and I use a specific statistical symbol to show your significance level. For this chart, the legends are preferable to place in a left or upper corner to keep the things concise. And for the title of the figure and chart, should have to mention the number of figure, and it should be descriptive enough to make it standalone, and should have to clarify about the statistical symbol used and test applied. We have several categories of chart. Among them, most commonly we are using line chart, histogram, scatter plot for continuous data, pie chart, bar chart, and box and whisker for categorical data. Now let's see how the photographs are effectively tool to represent the qualitative data, such as for research subject like biological or geological specimen, it's preferable to choose clear color of a good picture and mention the caption below each photographs, and make sure to conceal the identity for the data privacy. For the molecular data like gel and blood, it's preferable to choose black and white photographs. For the histological data, like biological tissue, mention a stain, type of microscopy with a proper magnification, and type of tissue which are used in a caption. So basically, result is a summary of our whole data outcome without doing interpretation, and make sure not to repetition table and charts and figure content in a text element. Now I would like to call Dr. Aditi Singh.
Thank you, Dr. Parthil. In a research paper, findings of a study are analyzed in the light of existing literature, providing insight into their implications and potential interpretations. Discussion represents the final section of a research paper where the findings are described, analyzed, interpreted within the context of the previous studies. Provides critical insights by placing the study's results in the broader framework of existing literature, highlighting the study's unique contributions and its relevance. Primary objective of discussion is to explain the meaning of the results to the reader. It addresses key questions such as what do the findings indicate, why are they significant, and how do they contribute to the existing knowledge of a body of a knowledge. The format of discussion can, depending upon the journal's requirement, could be integrated as conclusions, recommendations, and limitations into the discussion section, while others prefer these elements to be presented as separate sections. There are certain voids in a discussion. Discussion section is not meant to repeat or restate the result presented earlier. Instead, it interprets and explains the significance of those results. Don't draw conclusions from the findings without any support, because any conclusion or interpretations can draw in the discussion and must be backed by the data presented in your study by the evidence from the relevant literature. The discussion section should focus on interpreting the contextualizing the findings of the study. Introducing new data, results, or unrelated information can confuse the readers and distract them from the main narrative. Here is an example from PubMed Index where we can see there are certain similar studies and there are dissimilar studies which are being justified here in the last line. For a conclusion is the last section of a research paper that the readers engage with. It provides a brief summary of the paper and emphasizes all over impacts of the findings. It focuses on presenting the answers of the results of the study rather than raising a question. It's suggesting potential directions in the area of the future research related to the topic. It avoids introducing new data or information, ensuring that the discussion stays within the scope of the paper. We talk about the recommendations. It suggests a proposal made by the author based on the findings and the conclusion of the study, suggestive derived from the study findings, addressing issues, guiding future research, and providing actionable steps for the stakeholders. For the recommendations, we can see it should ensure they are very logical, relevant, feasible, and attainable. Logical here ensures that recommendations are directly derived from the study findings. They must address the identified gaps, issues, and opportunities highlighting in the research. Relevant to the research context and audience, ensuring alignment with the paper's scope, objective, and findings. Feasible and attainable should be proposed realistic actions that can be achieved with available resources and current technology. So other things while writing a recommendation we could say is they should be brief, clear, and be very precise. So limitation is an inevitable part of a process and should be transparently acknowledged. Here the limitation can rise from various factors such as aims and objectives of a study, which may narrow the focus and exclude certain perspectives. Then we have the methodological constraints, including the tools and the techniques used, and may restrict the depth of the or the accuracy of the data collected. Then we have the sample size. Another critical limitation, as smaller sample size can reduce the generalizability of the findings. Then we have additionally limitations related to the data collection methods, such as availability of the reliable resources, participant bias can influence the quality of the results. Recognizing and addressing these limitations enhance the credibility of our research and provides the foundation for future studies to build up upon. Now I would like to invite Dr. Vijaya for further.
Thank you, Dr. Aditi. I will be talking about references, the support pillars of any research work. So what is referencing? Referencing is a standard way of acknowledging the sources of information and ideas used in the research article. Simply copy-pasting others' works and ideas without proper acknowledgement of the source is called plagiarism. What data needs to be referenced in the research work? When you are quoting directly from the source, it should be referenced. Writing about another researcher's idea, thought or work using your own words as a paraphrase or summary needs referencing. Using any image, statistics or data from book, web or journals need referencing. Referencing is important because it gives authenticity to the information taken from other sources. It increases the credibility of the research paper. It indicates the origin of material and source for further research and reading, enables others to follow up the work and avoid charges of plagiarism. There are a few key points to keep in mind while referencing. Introduction, material methods and discussion part referencing is done. Abstract and result section do not have any references. The references should be accurate, clear and consistent. Relevant and recent references should be cited. The number of references given is determined by the target journal requirements as well as the type of manuscript submitted. There are various referencing styles used. Commonly used styles are Vancouver style, Harvard style, the API style of referencing, Chicago Manual of Style and MLA. I will be discussing about Vancouver style, which is the most commonly used style in medicine and scientific journals. This system was originally based on the rules proposed by International Committee of Medical Journal Editors, now maintained by US National Library of Medicine. It is a numbered system of referencing. It comprises of in-text citations and reference list. In Vancouver system, in-text citations, the references within the text of the paper are identified by numbers, which are written as superscript or brackets, round or square, depending on the journal guidelines. The placement of reference number within the text should be carefully considered, as a general rule they are placed outside the full stop and commas and inside colon and semicolons. A number must be used even if the author is named in the sentence, as shown in the example. When a reference is used more than once in the same text, the same reference number is used regardless of its previous position in the text. When multiple references are cited at a given place in the text, hyphen is used to join the first and last numbers that are inclusive, and commas without any space are used to separate the non-inclusive numbers, as shown in the example. This is an example of citing a journal article based on the Vancouver system. It has got 6 elements. The first is the author of the article. We have to list all the authors to a maximum of 6 authors. The authors are written as surname first, then initial of the first and middle name. And after 6 authors, we mention et al. Then comes the title of the article as mentioned in the journal. Then comes the title of the journal in abbreviated form. Then comes the year of publication, the volume and issue number and page numbers. After the title of journal, after the year of publication, we do not use any spacing. Punctuation marks and spaces in reference list and citations are very important. In a similar manner, we cite a book. First comes the author of the book, then comes the title, then comes the edition if it is other than the first edition, then comes the place of publication and publisher and year of publication, and lastly the
page numbers. When using online references, always include the DOI, the Digital Object Identifier number of digital articles, and if we don't have the DOI, we should always mention the URL at the end of the citation. At the end comes the reference list. A reference list provides complete information of all the sources cited in the research paper. It starts on a separate page at the end of the research paper and is titled References. The list is prepared in a sequentially numbered order in which the sources have been cited in the text. Reference number in the text and the list should always match, as shown in the example. There are various reference management tools like Mendeley, EndNote and Zotero, which can help in storing and organizing the references, generating in-text citations and reference lists, and switching between different referencing styles as per the publication requirements. Now I would like to invite our mentor, Dr. Shweta Ma'am, to summarize the topic.
Thank you, Dr. Vijaya. As we come to the end of our presentation, I will just take a moment to focus on the key takeaways of the science of writing a research paper. So we had already talked about the title and the author. Like, title is should be brief and informative. The author affiliation and the authorship criteria provides credibility and identification to the researcher and institution. Abstracts tells us what the research is in a nutshell. It follows either an it follows the inbred logic where it can be a structured abstract or a non-structured abstract, and it highlights the major findings, and the keywords, they capture the core topics of the research. Introduction tells us what the problem is, what is the importance of that research topic, what is known and unknown about that research area, and it also mentions the research objective with which we are conducting that research. And the objectives have to be SMART, that is specific, measurable, attainable, relevant and time-based. Then the materials and methods used needs to be mentioned properly, along with the study design, sampling and sample size used, and how the sample size has been determined. Inclusion of data collection methods and statistical analysis is a requirement. And besides this, we need to mention the IEC approval with the name of the committee that is giving the approval, with number and date. The consent and confidentiality statement also need to be mentioned. Then coming to the results, so results, like after the research, what did you find? This is summarized under headings and informative tables and figures, but mind it, there is no interpretation of results. Like, there is no interpretation of the findings that we have achieved. So the interpretation comes under the discussion section. So we need to explain the results with comparison with literature and interpretation. Objectives achieved need to be mentioned, and also the limitations, implications for future research and application need to be mentioned under the discussion section. Under the conclusion, we put up our major findings and their significance, but we don't have to just simply repeat what has been said in discussion. And references, again, the last pillar but an important pillar of a research article. It is essential to cite the original literature reviewed and provide a current reference list. And Vancouver style is the most common one used in medical and scientific papers. And under the Vancouver style, we use in-text citations, and we also have a reference list at the end of the paper. So with this, I end up, and I hope we would have been able to illuminate everybody on this topic. Thank you.